Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koramore Tama Bina Kedoyalo Jagat Samsare. Slower. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koramore Tama Bina Kedoyalu Jagat Samsare. Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara Mosama Patita Prabhu Napai Behara. Apatita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara Mosama Patita Prabhu Napai Behara. Ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Bolo Kanakara Ami Baraduki. Ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Bolo Kanakara Ami Baraduki. Daya Kara Sitapati Advaita Goshai Tava Kripa Bole Pai Chaitanya Nitai. Daya Koro Sitapati Advaita Goshai Tava Kripa Bole Pai Chaitanya Nitai. Ha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Patajuga Shijiva Prabhu Lokanath. Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Patajuga Shideva Prabhu Lokanatha. Daya Koro Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Dasa. Daya Koro Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Dasa. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koro More Tama Vina Kedoyalu Jagat Samsare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koro More Dhamma Vina Kedoyalu Jagat Samsare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Bharvadakacharya Asadhara Sikdushi Shriman His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Harival. Glories to the sound devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Buddhaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravanya Vicharane Nirvishesha Shinivadi Paskatyade Siddharane Om Agyana Timanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vidham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrajana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Gatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudha Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shadvaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda So I'm going to read from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter-8. The author receives the orders of Krishna and Guru, text number 20. I'm just going to read the Bengali one time and just read the purport because the purport's 3 pages. Hena prema Sri Chaitanya dila yata tata Jagamare Paryanta Anyakata Hena such Prema love of Godhead Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Dila has given Yata anywhere everywhere. Jai, Jagai, Madai, Madai, Paryanta, up to them, Anyera, of others, Ka, what to speak, Kata, words. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has freely given this love of Krishna everywhere and anywhere, even to the most fallen, such as Jagai and Madai. What then to speak of those who are already pious and elevated. Purport. The distinction between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu human society and the gifts of others is that whereas the so-called philanthropic humanitarian workers given some relief to human society as far as the body is concerned, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offers the best facilities for going back home, back to Godhead, with love of Godhead. One seriously makes a comparative study of the two gifts. Certainly, if he is at all sober, he will give the greatest credit to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was with this purpose that the Kaviraj Goswami says, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichar Vichara Karile Chite Pave Chatmakar. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Dina hina yatachila hariname udarila sakshi jagat. The two brothers, Jagai and Madai, epitomize the sinful population of this age of Kali. They were most disturbing elements in society because they were meat eaters, women hunters, rogues, and thieves. Yet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered them, to say nothing of pious, devoted, and conscientious. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that, to say nothing of the Brahmanically qualified devotees and Rajarshis, Kim Punar Brahmana Punya, Bhakta Rajarshayastata. Anyone who is by association of a pure devotee comes to Krishna consciousness becomes eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:32, the Lord thus declares, Mam hi partha vyapashitya yepi supapayonaya striyo vaishas tata sudras vitim prita. Those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, vaishyas, attain the supreme. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, two fallen brothers, Jagai and Madai, but the entire world is presently full of Jagais and Madais. Women hunters, meat eaters, gamblers, thieves, and other rogues who create all kinds of disturbances in society. The activities of such persons have now become common practices. It is no longer considered abominable to be a drunkard, woman hunter, meat eater, thief, or rogue. These elements have been assimilated by human society. That does not mean, however, that the abominable qualities of such persons will help free human society from the clutches of Maya. Rather, they will entangle humanity more and more in the reactions of the stringent laws of material nature. One's activities are all performed under the influence of the modes of material nature. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. Because people are now associating with the modes of ignorance, tamoguna, and to some extent passion, rajaguna, with no traces of goodness, sattvaguna, they are becoming increasingly greedy and lusty. That is the effect of associating with these modes. Tata rajastamo bhava kama lobhadayas chaye. By associating with the two lower qualities of material nature, one becomes lusty and greedy. Bhagavatam 1:2-19. Actually, in modern human society, everyone is greedy and lusty, and therefore the only means for deliverance is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu movement, which can promote all the Jagais and Madais to the topmost position of Sattva-gun, or Brahminical culture. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:18-19 states, Nashta prayesh vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki tatarajastamo bhava kamo loba cheta eta anavidam sitam sattve prasidati. Considering the chaotic condition of human society, if one actually wants peace and tranquility, one must take to the Krishna consciousness movement and engage always in Bhagavad Dharma. Engagement in Bhagavad Dharma dissipates all ignorance and passion. When ignorance is dissipated, one is lust. When freed from greed and lust, one becomes Brahminically qualified. And when a Brahminically qualified person makes further advancement, he becomes situated on the Vaishnava platform. It is only on this Vaishnava platform that it is possible to awaken one's dormant love of Godhead, and as soon as one does so, his life is successful. At present, specifically the mode of tamoguna, and although there may also be some symptoms of passion, Rajaguna, Kama and Lobha, lust, the entire population of the world, few Vaishyas. And gradually it is becoming about that there are Shudras only. Communism is a movement of Shudras, and capitalism is meant for Vaishyas. In the fight between these two factions, the Shudras and Vaishyas, gradually, due to the abominable condition of human society, the communists will emerge triumphant. And as soon as this takes place, whatever is left of society will be ruined. The only possible remedy that can counteract the tendency towards communism is the Krishna consciousness movement, which can give even communists the real idea of communist society. According to the doctrine of communism, the state should be the proprietor of everything. But the Krishna consciousness movement, expanding the same idea, accepts God as the proprietor of everything. People cannot understand this because they have no sense of God. But the Krishna consciousness movement can help them to understand God and to understand that everything belongs to God. Since everything is the property of God, and all living entities, not only human beings, but even animals, birds, plants, and so on, are children of God, everyone has the right to live at the cost of God with God consciousness. This is the sum and substance of the Krishna consciousness movement. So the text again. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has freely given this love of Krishna everywhere and anywhere, even to the most fallen, such as Jagai and Madai. What then to speak of those who are already pious and elevated? Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyatyade Satarne. Srila Prabhupada is, in this verse, in the purport, define the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. That is to give everyone Krishna consciousness. Matirna Krishna Parataksatova Mito Bipadyeta Griha Vratanam Adantago Bira Vishatam Tamizram Punak Charvita Charvananam. So, Matira means where we put our consciousness. So our first business is Manmana. We're supposed to put our consciousness on Krishna. But most people don't know that. And why? What is the material world about? The material world is a struggle, karshati, to avoid death. because basically speaking, we want peace. And as long as we're in the ever-changing material existence, we cannot find any real peace. Nashti Buddha ayuktasya, na cha yuktasya bhavanaha, na cha bhavyanta shantir, ashantasya kutak sukham. That for one who's not in transcendental consciousness can have neither a controlled mind nor steady intelligence or transcendental intelligence, without which there is no possibility of peace, and how can there be any happiness without peace? So we want happiness. That's the purpose of existence, is happiness, either in the spiritual world or in the material world. But before one can become happy, one first has to become peaceful. But as long as one is identifying oneself with one's gross and subtle material bodies that one is imprisoned by, then there is no question of peace. And since we can't become peaceful, then there is no question of happiness. So people are struggling to become happy principally by trying to become peaceful. But their methods of becoming peaceful are not the correct method. Although Mathura Krishna, they do not put their consciousness upon Krishna, they're still putting their consciousness in a false attempt to become peaceful. And what is that? Mathura Krishna paratak satova mitopi padyeta griha vratana. They're inquiring either personally by self-study, or by taking advice from others, or by a combination of both, mito, how we're going to become peaceful and happy in this world. Unfortunately, the answers they receive are simply within the category of what's known as sense gratification. That is, andaya tandira pagimanas, well actually, Ete vidus Mathura Krishna parataksatova mito bipadyeta grihavrat adanta gobira vishatam tamizram. Because we don't have a higher goal, we don't have a higher vision, therefore we're taking shelter of people who have the same vision that we have. That is, the purpose of life is adanta gobira. Whatever the impulses arising from the senses, we choose some of them, adanta gobira vishatam tamizram, to satisfy, but ultimately it leads to tamizram, ignorance. We're in the ignorance. We're already mad because we're misidentifying ourselves with these gross and subtle bodies. But when we take the goal of our life to somehow or another find a happy, peaceful situation in the material world, then we become crazy. Janmaishvarya Shruta Shivir Edamanak Madak Puman Naivahatya Vedatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gochara. Now, those who think that if I accumulate more wealth, if I get more followers, if I get more personal influence, then I can actually become peaceful. But actually, we're already disturbed by material identification, and when we add more identification to our already disturbed material identification, then instead of simply becoming disturbed, we become more and more crazy. And a crazy person, a person who's intoxicated by the material energy, they cannot chant the holy name with any kind of feeling, which is the method of getting out of material entanglement. Therefore, punak punas charvita charvananam, an intelligent person has to have a vision that material sense gratification is simply the same thing over and over and over again. Unfortunately, people are not educated in this. In Kali Yuga, there is no knowledge. There is no Dharma. People are not educated in reality. They're educated in illusion. And so they become more and more deluded. They think that the goal of life is to accumulate as much so-called economic development, to have so-called sense gratification. But either they don't know what economic development is, nor do they know what sense gratification, because they have no knowledge. They think the temporary alleviation of the demands of their senses is sense gratification. But it's not sense gratification, it's sense agitation. Sense gratification means that one is actually eating nice prasad, so even eating a little prasadam, one feels satisfied. Then the senses are actually satisfied. One associating with everyone, including one's wife and children and husband, in such a way one feels satisfied. That's sense gratification. Otherwise, one is trying to gratify one's senses, but it simply leads to more and more sense agitation. Ite vidu swartakatim hi Vishnu. People are not educated that one's senses will become satisfied if one actually engages in the service of Krishna or Vishnu. Darashaya ye bahir arthamanina. Instead, they take something insignificant and they take, which is actually agitating to themselves and will make them more and more unhappy, more and more ignorant, so they don't know the means of getting out of material entanglement. They take that as important. Why? Andaya tandira pigemanas te pisha tantra urudami bara. They're blind. They don't know that the goal of life is liberation, to get out of the material concept of life, to realize our spiritual identity in relation with Krishna. So this is called avidya. That's called blind. And not only they're blind, but they require asmita, a false ego. And they're serving their false ego instead of Krishna, hoping to become happy, but they're simply becoming more and more distressed. Being afflicted by rag and dvesha, by attachments and aversions, they fall into the darkest ignorance of abhiniveshata, always an anxiety about impending death. Their goal is to avoid death. They're working hard to avoid death, and their very means to avoid death are bringing death closer. Therefore, as Prabhupada said, the goal of this Krishna consciousness movement is to distribute the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially in the form of the holy name. But the holy name has to be chanted offenselessly. And offenselessly can only happen, offenseless chanting of the holy name can only be done when it's done in the proper, with a proper understanding, with a proper sambandha. If we chant the holy name in great with material desire, in the realm of abhiniveshata, in the realm of anxiety over our impending death, or in the realm of raga and dvesha, hankering and lamenting, or in the realm of asmita with false ego, or in the realm of avidya and ignorance, then we will not get the result of chanting Hare Krishna. We may get some other result, but we won't get love of Krishna. We won't make advancement in devotional service. Therefore, our first business is to acquire this sambandha, to actually understand things properly, to take away avidya. and we can judge a vidya being taken away or removed if our false ego is removed. And our false ego is removed when we actually start thinking ourselves to be Gopi Bharata Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Anudasa. That is, we actually, not just during class, but we're reminded, oh yes, that's right, I'm Krishna's servant. I just thank you very much. Then we walk out. As I said, in class, suddenly above our heads appears some halo. And we start thinking, yes, yes, I'm so nice. And then we walk out and these two little horns start growing. Actually, being a body is not so bad. No, we're trying to learn the Sambandha in such a way as that we're constantly remembering Krishna and that we're Krishna's servant. Then we can serve Krishna's mission. And the Nectar of Instruction probably explains what the symptoms of a Uttama Adhikari are. And one of them is that he's always chanting his rounds every day, always following all the rules and regulations, and always thinking of how to expand the Sankirtan movement. So, if we're not on that platform, at least we have to work on the second-class platform. Now, of course, we may say, well, I always chant my 16 rounds, whatever they may be. But chanting Hare Krishna means offenseless chanting Hare Krishna. Offenseless chanting, we know we're offenselessly chanting when we chant and we spontaneously remember Krishna. If we're not spontaneously remember Krishna, we're in some other level of consciousness. So we have to work on it. Either we're in ignorance, or in false ego, or we're absorbed in attachment and aversion, or we're an anxiety over something failure in this material world. The ultimate failure is we die. Because when we die, everything else fails. So we're in that mood, then of course, when we chant Hare Krishna, we're not going to remember Krishna. And unless we follow all the rules and regulations, then we're not a servant of Krishna. Then we're making up our own activities. If we're actually convinced that we're servants of Krishna, then we'll follow the etiquette, all the rules and regulations, out of service to Krishna. And the main rule and regulation is Yari Deka Tari Kaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Aiga Guruhana Taridesh. The main rule and regulation is always think about how to spread the Hare Krishna movement. Whoever we meet, see it as an opportunity to help devotees progress into pure devotional service. And at the same time, give up materialistic association, give up material ideas, give up this idea that I have some other identity other than the servant of Krishna. If we're actually in that mood, we'll be connected with the disciple succession, and then Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, Krishna will give us the intelligence how to give others Krishna consciousness. If we're not thinking in our relationships of how to help this person, this living entity, make progress in pure devotional service, then we're thinking of how to, in some way, subtle or gross, how to exploit this living entity for my sense gratification and false ego. Now, of course, in the material world, we've been trained up not to be embarrassed by that. We've been trained up to be proud of it. That I'm such a great enjoyer of the false ego, I've accumulated so many things that prove how good a servant I am of my false ego. Look at my bank balance, look at my followers, look at this, look at that. See how much I've served my false ego. But our actual duty is to serve our acharyas, our leaders in disciple succession, not to serve our false ego. And whether we externally were so-called successful or unsuccessful, we'll be successful if we try, in the real sense of the word, if we actually become the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spread the Hare Krishna movement, and at the same time take up the service of our spiritual masters in disciple succession, chant our rounds, follow the regular principles, and always think about how to expand the Hare Krishna movement and do it practically. And for that we need some vision, that is our purpose of existence. That's why we take initiation. If we take initiation for some other reason than to spread the Hare Krishna movement by becoming a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, then our initiation is useless. It's like throwing ghee on ashes. Unless we're interested in spreading this movement, participating in the movement and distributing it to others, then we're not in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. We're in our imaginary movement that we've created by our false ego. So, our first business is to try to attract people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, attract them by the chanting of the holy name, by giving them prasadam, by giving them information about the glories of this movement, the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in some way which is appropriate for our audience. Appropriate for their audience means to fulfill their needs rather than our needs. When we distribute books, for instance, the idea is not to get points. It is not that the person who gets the most points, he goes back to Godhead. That at the time of entering into the spiritual world, the gatekeeper, Jai and Vijay, have their Sankirtan newsletter, and they check the number of points you have. If you get enough points, then you get free passage to the spiritual world. That is not the purpose of distributing books. The purpose of distributing books is so that we actually, whoever we meet, we act as an instrument for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his acharyas, and we approach them in such a way as that we give them the greatest opportunity to accept the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our previous acharyas in the form of these transcendental literatures. It is a gift what we're offering to them by our acharyas. And we accept their contribution as their offering of love so that this can be, their energies can actually be utilized in further distribution of Krishna consciousness. And we go out and chant Hare Krishna not to get an award for our beautiful singing, or so we can attract everyone's attention, for good or bad. We do that to actually distribute, not only to the people in general, but to ourselves also, the happiness of associating with Srimati Radharani and Krishna and their associates simply by chanting Hare Krishna to fulfill the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We distribute prasad not to fill people's empty stomachs, but to give them a little taste of what Krishna is like, so they may come and hear about how to get even a greater taste of Krishna through entering into his transcendental pastimes, through hearing, chanting, and remembering his divine qualities, name, form, associates, and pastimes. Then, for those who are already on a platform of transcendental awareness, then we try to encourage each other to take the process more seriously. Those who are living in the temple, they're fortunate because they have the opportunity to get up early in the morning, chant Hare Krishna, hear about Krishna, and go out or go in to serve Krishna, serve the mission. But of course, many devotees, they get married, and after some time, they think they've already accumulated enough pious activities when they were brahmacharis that even if a Vaikuntha airplane doesn't come and take them back to the spiritual world, certainly Indra will come with a few apsaras and make up for it. So this type of time-serving brahmachari life is good, but it may be good for nothing if we misuse our opportunity and don't become serious about either in brahmachari life or grihastha life or vanaprastha life or sannyas life, continue to engage in Krishna consciousness with the devotees and develop sadhana, whatever position in this material world one is in, and develop loving relationships with others, especially by chanting together, taking prasadam together, hearing about Krishna together, and doing it in such a way as to try to help others become Krishna conscious, whoever they are. And don't think that now I've become a householder, now my aim of life is to establish my kingdom and then expand my kingdom to my plenary expansions and partial expansions, my intelligent children and not so intelligent children, and let them inherit my Vaikuntha and let them expand further into other Vaikunthas, where we're all Narayans, two-handed Narayans, and our wives are the goddesses of fortune. Live out our dreams in the material existence, imagining ourselves to be Radha and Krishnas. So one has to continue Krishna consciousness in any situation, and at the same time actively engage our energies either amongst ourselves and family, spreading Krishna consciousness, or if we have more of an opportunity to spread it to our friends and neighbors, or eventually become fully engaged in spreading the Hare Krishna movement. Then our lives will be actually successful. Then we'll become eligible to enter into the spiritual world. But if we think we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're accumulating pious activities, we're taking prasadam, we're getting up early in the morning, our lives are gradually becoming more and more pious, we're getting more and more, accumulating more and more credit with Krishna, and then some birthday I'll cash it all in and get back to my real business, which is to enjoy in this material world. Then if we do that, Krishna will give us opportunity, either on this planet or in the heavenly planets or in Brahmaloka, but it is not the highest goal of life. We won't, and any position in the material world is always unsteady, and any unsteady position we cannot find real peace or happiness in. Therefore, the conclusion is, by intelligence, we should ascertain the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his movement and try to take full advantage of it in the very brief period of time that we have, and try to encourage others to take advantage of that mercy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving, especially through the example and instructions coming from Srila Prabhupada, and try to understand how to live in this ISKCON movement in such a way as to actually advance the purposes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and try to avoid advancing our own materialistic ideas and purposes. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes.
Hold. Mic.
Grateful Maharaj, thank you very much for putting it in perspective that we need to focus on developing a sambandha. That's the point that impressed me the most. My question, Maharaj, is that you had mentioned in the lecture about if you're chanting with, say, Abhinivesha, we're still not at the right platform, and so some like fear of death. Elsewhere, we've seen that Prabhupada mentioned somewhere that we should know that death is right around the corner, and we should chant with that kind of seriousness. So how do we balance it from the point of view of seriousness with, and on the other side with regard to real mortal fear?
I'm not quite sure. We're fearful. We're always fearful. Because it's not that we were in ignorance. We've come to the material world because we were in ignorance. Janmana jayate shudra. We were born as shudras. Therefore, shudra means we're in ignorance. And we already had a false ego to begin with. Otherwise, why we identify ourselves with these bodies? We didn't somehow or another come to the Hare Krishna movement and started to think that we were a material body. This is considered completely normal. And we're full of rag and dvesha. People talk about their history. Just look at what you've done before you were in the Hare Krishna movement. It's all rag and dvesha. And it's all asmita. It's all anxiety. Why are people in anxiety? Are there anxiety because they're missing Krishna? All anxiety is all based upon the fear of death, the fear of losing something, which is a kind of death. There are simply different kinds of deaths in the material world. There's the death of relationships, there's the death of relatives, there's death of our business, there's death of so many things that people are afraid of. And therefore they're always in anxiety. Now, the only cure for the anxiety is to actually realize who we actually are, to get out of avidya. Otherwise, even when we start from asmita, even when we get free from our false ego, even when we become liberated, it's not a steady position, because we'll fall back into the material world. So only when we work on the platform that we're the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, can we get free from avidya, because that's who we actually are. And on that platform, then the other things go away gradually, such as false ego. We think I'm Krishna's servant, and then we hanker for Krishna, and we lament that we don't have Krishna. And we develop the anxiety. Tatra loyam muyam ekalam janma koti sukritarna labhyate. Then we develop the anxiety to become Krishna conscious. So only when we understand things properly can these other things go away, and we can work positively rather than negatively on the material platform.
Grateful, Maharaj.
Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thanks a lot, Maharaj, for a nice lecture. Maharaj, I have a question about, like you have told that if we chant with avidya or in avidya, then the real purpose of chanting is not fulfilled. We could not get the real result of chanting. But this avidya, like in Narottam Das Thakur bhajan, prema bhakti yahan hote avidya vinasa jate. So he told that if you have developed prema bhakti, then your avidya will be diminished. So how can we understand that on our stage avidya is already there, and without developing prema bhakti, our avidya will.
Yeah.
So how
how
to apply this principle in our life?
Yeah, adao shara tata sarusanga tyabhajna kriya and artha niriti shat. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasakare Sudidar Nishtai Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Krita Hai. Karma Krita Hai. The very process we're doing is the gradual development of prema. We start where we're at. Shraddha means to put our heart on Krishna. Try to think about Krishna, concentrate on Krishna. Shraddha, the little bit of faith. And then we learn how to do that in the association of devotees. In the association of devotees, we learn the process of fixing our mind upon Krishna with devotion is by performing sadhana and giving up the different aspects of false conceptions of life. Then anartha nivritti comes about. We give up our unwanted habits and conceptions. We come to the platform of nishta, that these things don't disturb us anymore. We're constantly engaged in serving Krishna with the right conception. Then that develops, then gradually we're able to concentrate our minds upon Krishna with feeling, and we can experience what actually is reality. Who Krishna actually, what it's like to actually be Krishna conscious, and how everything and everyone is related to Krishna. And when that develops intensity, it comes to the platform of asakti. Then one develops such a high taste in Krishna consciousness that all other conceptions become distasteful. And then gradually one's feelings towards Krishna awaken, and as one ray of prema, and as that intensifies unlimitedly, it comes at the platform of prema. So from the very beginning to the end, it's the platform of developing prema. It's the shraddha, developing concentration, and at the same time love for Krishna. Focusing our mind and giving our love to Krishna from shraddha to prema.
Okay.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. The question is, as you said, around it's between, you said between 8:35 to 8:40. You said unless we follow all the rules and regulations, we are not the servant of Krishna. And unless we and after that you said that if we are not following the rules and regulations, that we are doing something else. It's not bhakti, right? You are saying that?
That's right.
That's right. So in relation to that, the question is, I'm residing here in this city, Delhi and NCR, and we are taking the water of river Yamuna. And Yamuna is the sister of Yamraj. Okay.
Yeah.
And we are taking the water and we are putting our sewage in Yamuna, unfortunately. So, and due to that, the cows in Vrindavan are dying. So are we not? This is not a question to. This is a question for my purification. So, so I am not doing an offense by killing mother cow and polluting mother Yamuna. So will I get the result of chanting? Or is the violation of the rules and regulation?
You have to become Krishna's servant. You don't have to become Paramatma. Paramatma, he has his job, you have your service. If you try to become Paramatma, you won't be successful. So first, whatever Krishna has given you, then utilize in his service. And leave it to Krishna. He's the friend of everyone. He's the proprietor, he's the controller, he's the enjoyer, he's the friend of everyone. So you utilize under his direction, become an instrument, nimitra matram vavasavasachin, and you can become successful. You don't have to save the whole world, you only have to save yourself. And if you try to save the whole world out of false ego, not only you won't save yourself, but you'll cause trouble for other living entities too.
So that's your answer?
Yes. If you think you're going to save the Jamuna, if you think that's your, first of all, find out if that's your actual service in life, is to do that. If that's what Krishna really wants you to do, to do only that. But if you don't find out what Krishna really wants you to do, how to spread Krishna consciousness, neither you're going to save the Jamuna, nor you'll save yourself, nor you'll save the cows. You'll simply create more problems for everyone.
Hare Krishna. So, please quote me Shastric references for this. Whatever answer I received from you for the past 3 minutes before, please, I need the Shastric references. So
I just said.
Shastric
That's
references.
Bhagavad Gita.
Which verse? Sorry.
This is chapter 11. I believe I forget, actually it comes after Kalosmi Lokashe Krit Pravido Lokan Samahartami Ha Pravitak Ritepi Swamnam Vivishin Sarve Ivasita Pratnyukeshi Yoda Tasmat Twamutishti Shola Basva Shitvad Bhaktram Sutram Rajan Saridam Mayavata Niyatam Purvameva Nimitra Matram Bhavasava Sachin. Just get up and prepare to fight, and after conquering enemies, you'll enjoy a flourishing kingdom. There he put to death by my arrangement, O you of Sabbasachi can be but an instrument in the fight. So, instrument. How to become an instrument? Tadvidi pranipatena pari prashnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquiring from him submissively, and render service to seeing the truth. And if we don't act like that, then prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartahamiti manyate. Bewildered by the false ego, one thinks himself to be the doer of the activities which are actually carried out by the orders of Krishna coming down in spirit in disciple succession, will be serving the ahankar, the false ego. Anyhow, we'll stop there. Thank you very much. Grandhara Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Or Premanande.